Let's be honest, most people are out here burning their weekends, growing basic tomatoes and cucumbers for pennies. It's exhausting. Meanwhile, a few ultra-smart growers are quietly printing 5- and 6-figure paychecks from botanical gold mines you've probably never even heard of. And the absolute wildest part. These aren't rare, fragile, exotic plants that require a commercial greenhouse. They cost next to nothing to start. Yet their harvest fetches a mind-blowing $30 to $60 per pound from booming wellness and luxury cosmetic brands. Wow! Just imagine walking into your backyard and realizing you're literally stepping on a gold mine. If you've been desperately looking for a smarter way to make your soil actually pay your mortgage, these hidden crops are about to completely change your financial destiny. Let's dive straight into asset number 1. 1. Moringa. Let's start with the one plant that, if you grow nothing else on this list, could still change your financial picture entirely. Moringa oleifera, called the miracle tree. For good reason, this is one of the most nutrient-dense plants on Earth. More vitamin C than oranges, more calcium than milk, more iron than spinach, more protein than eggs gram for gram. The global superfood market has fully woken up to what traditional cultures have known for centuries, and the numbers reflect it. Dried moringa leaf powder is currently selling for $15 to $50 per pound, depending on quality and channel. Organic high-grade powder through specialty health retailers can go even higher. Fresh moringa leaves move for $8 to $15 per pound at farmers markets and through direct buyers. But here's the real advantage. Moringa isn't one product. You can sell the leaves, seeds, pods, pressed oil, and powder, 5 revenue streams from a single tree. One established tree produces 15 to 30 pounds of leaf biomass per year. Under the right conditions, it can grow up to 15 feet in its first year alone. Best zones 9 to 13 for outdoor growing. Cooler zone growers are succeeding with large containers overwintered indoors. If you plant moringa this season and market it correctly, your first profitable harvest is realistically within 12 months. Before we dive deeper, drop your USDA zone in the comments if you ignore your local climate. You're basically setting yourself up for a garden heartbreak from day one. I'll be calling out the perfect zones for each plant as we go, so make sure you're listening for yours. 2. Duckweed. This next one will surprise you, and honestly it surprised me too when I first looked at the numbers. Duckweed. That tiny green film floating on still ponds, it might be the most underrated cash crop in the world right now. Here's why smart growers are paying close attention. Duckweed is 42 to 45% protein by dry weight. That's higher than soybeans. And with the global plant-based protein market exploding, the aquaculture industry, animal feed sector, and human nutrition space are all actively searching for scalable protein sources. Duckweed is one of the fastest answers to that problem. Dried duckweed sells for $30 to $60 per pound in specialty nutrition markets. As a live feed, it sells directly to koi pond owners, home aquarium hobbyists, and backyard fish farms. Bulk sales to aquaculture operations create a completely separate revenue channel. The production footprint is shockingly small. You can grow duckweed in kiddie pools, stock tanks, or purpose-built pond systems. It reproduces rapidly in still nutrient-rich water and uses a fraction of the land and water that conventional protein crops demand. Best zones 4 to 11 adaptable with controlled water temperature indoors year-round. If you have access to even a few tanks or a small body of water, duckweed could be your highest return per square foot crop on this entire list. 3. Ashwagandha. If you've spent any time in the wellness space lately, you already know this name. But what most people don't know is how profitable it is to actually grow. The adaptogen market has crossed into multi-billion-dollar territory, and ashwagandha is its biggest star. Modern research now confirms what Ayurvedic practitioners knew for centuries. This root helps manage stress, supports energy, and has been studied for effects on cortisol, testosterone, and cognitive performance. That science is driving serious, sustained demand. Dried ashwagandha root sells for $15 to $30 per pound. Root powder commands similar or higher pricing in supplement channels. Extract sold to processors pushes the value even further. Seed to harvest runs 150 to 180 days, manageable for most growers. The plant wants warm, dry conditions with sandy, well-draining soil. The single biggest mistake, overwatering. Treat it like a drought-tolerant root crop, and it thrives. Think of it as growing a high-value root vegetable with an extraordinary payoff. The supplement buyer for ashwagandha is loyal, consistent, and actively paying premiums for organically grown root. 4. Tulsi. Here's one most Western growers completely overlook, and that's exactly why the opportunity is still wide open. Tulsi has been growing in Indian courtyards for thousands of years. Families planted it at their doorstep not just as medicine, but as something sacred. And now the Western wellness market just discovered what those families always knew. The adaptogen surge pushed Tulsi into teas, tinctures, capsules, skincare lines all at once. Meanwhile, South Asian communities have never stopped buying it. That's two completely separate markets, both hungry, both growing. Dried Tulsi leaves are moving for $8 to $20 per pound. Essential oil fetches considerably more. A well-crafted Tulsi tea blend in a pretty pouch at a farmer's market. People reach for it without hesitation. But here's what makes Tulsi genuinely exciting for a small grower. It doesn't lock you into one product. Sell it fresh on Saturday. Dry it through the week. Infuse it into oil for the craft market. Each form finds a different buyer at a different price. One plant, 4 conversations. 4 checks. It grows fast, stays compact, and gives you multiple cuts per season. Best zones 9 to 11 as a perennial. Zones 5 to 8 treat it as a warm season annual, still worth every square foot. 5. Stevia. Let me paint you a picture. Someone diagnosed with diabetes walks into a health food store. They're done with artificial sweeteners, the aftertaste, the ingredients. They can't pronounce the nagging feeling that something isn't right. They pick up a small bag of dried stevia leaves grown locally, labeled clean and simple. They don't hesitate at the price. That person exists in every town in America right now, and there aren't enough growers supplying them. Stevia is the natural sweetener the world has been waiting for, and the market is reflecting that. Some varieties run 200 to 300 times sweeter than sugar by weight. Dried leaves sell for $10 to $20 per pound through health retailers and online platforms. Processed extract and powder push margins even higher. The buyers aren't just health-conscious individuals either. Food manufacturers, keto product brands, and beverage companies are actively contracting with growers who can deliver consistent, quality supply. For small growers selling direct farmers, markets, local health shops, online storefronts, the margins are genuinely strong. Stevia loves sunshine and well-draining soil. It's a prolific grower once established, giving you multiple harvests per season. Best zones 8 to 11 outdoors. Cooler zones grow it successfully as an annual start indoors transplant after last frost. The demand isn't coming. It's already here. The first half of this list gets talked about online. The second half. Almost nobody is covering these, and the growers who found them first are quietly making serious money. 6. Gotu Kola. Most American growers have never heard of this one. And that silence is exactly where the money is hiding. Gotu Kola is a small, low-growing herb from Southeast Asia that traditional healers have used for thousands of years for wound healing, circulation, cognitive function, skin health. It was never secret knowledge. It just never made it into Western gardens. Until now. The nootropic market brain health supplements focus formulas. Cognitive wellness products is one of the fastest growing segments in the entire supplement industry. And researchers keep pointing back to Go-To Cola. That attention is translating directly into buyer demand. Dried Go-To Cola is selling for $20 to $40 per pound through herbal retailers and online health platforms. That's not a farmer's market price, that's a specialty buyer price. And specialty buyers pay it consistently. Here's something that genuinely sets this plant apart for small growers. It's shade tolerant. That corner of your property that gets filtered light where nothing else thrives. Go-To Cola might be exactly what belongs there. It loves moisture and warmth, but container growers in temperate climates have made it work in protected spots. Best zones 8 to 12 outdoors. Containers work well in cooler zones with consistent moisture. The key is skipping the middleman entirely. Go straight to herbalists, naturopathic practitioners, and nootropic brands. That's where the real price lives. 7. Lemon balm. I know what you're thinking. Lemon balm. Really that common thing growing in my neighbor's yard. Stay with me. Because this is one of those plants where the market is dramatically larger than the reputation suggests, and most growers are leaving serious money on the table by dismissing it. Think about what's happening in consumer culture right now. Sleep products are everywhere. Stress relief is a billion-dollar conversation. Herbal wellness is moving from the fringe into the mainstream grocery aisle. Lemon balm feeds directly into every single one of those markets simultaneously. Dried lemon balm moves for $8 to $15 per pound. Essential oil fetches considerably more. In the herbal tea world, it's a top-selling ingredient, the kind of herb that blend makers actively seek out and pay well for. But here's what I genuinely love about lemon balm from a grower's perspective. This plant does not ask much of you. It tolerates a wide range of soils. It survives drought once established. It comes back every year without replanting. And it spreads, meaning your initial planting keeps expanding your harvest potential season after season. A well-managed patch produces pounds of harvestable biomass per season without dramatic intervention. Best zones 4 to 9 as a hardy perennial. Extremely forgiving for beginner growers. Dry it well, preserve those volatile oils. And connect with tea blenders and herbal supplement buyers. That's where the real return lives. 8. Catnip. This one catches people off guard every single time. But stay with me. Catnip. Yes, the cat plant. And it is absolutely a cash crop. Here is the thing most growers miss. The pet industry is one of the most recession-proof industries in the world. People skip vacations, cut subscriptions, cook at home, but they do not stop spending on their animals. Organic, naturally grown catnip sits right at the intersection of the premium pet market and the natural products movement. It sells itself. Dried catnip sells for $5 to $12 per pound in bulk. But when you package it as a finished product for the pet market, the margins shift dramatically. Small bags of dried catnip move for $4 to $8 for just 1 or 2 ounces. Do that math per pound, and you will never look at this plant the same way again. Catnip, tinctures, sprays, and toys stuffed with dried catnip all command strong retail prices through pet boutiques, farmers markets, and online platforms. And here is the bonus most people overlook. Catnip is also used in herbal medicine for humans as a mild relaxant and digestive aid. 2 completely separate markets. 1 crop. It grows fast, tolerates a wide range of climates, and returns year after year as a reliable perennial. Best zones 3 to 9. One of the easiest plants on this entire list to establish and maintain. 9. Calendula. If you are not growing calendula for profit right now, you are genuinely missing one of the most consistent opportunities in the specialty crop world. This flower, also called pot marigold, shows up everywhere. Skincare products, cosmetics, herbal salves, culinary garnishes, natural dyes, wound healing formulations. The clean beauty market has exploded, and calendula is one of its most beloved ingredients. Manufacturers are actively looking for reliable quality growers. Dried calendula petals sell for $10 to $20 per pound. But take those same petals, infuse them into a carrier oil, and suddenly you have a value-added product that sells for dramatically more to small-batch skincare makers and herbalists. High-quality calendula extract commands premium pricing from cosmetic manufacturers. Fresh calendula also sells well as a specialty cut flower. Florists and event planners pay strong prices per stem. Here is what makes calendula especially beautiful from a production standpoint. The more you harvest, the more it blooms. It is one of those rare plants that rewards you for picking it. A well-maintained bed produces continuously throughout the season, generating hundreds of dollars from dried flowers alone before you even consider value-added products. It prefers cooler temperatures, making it perfect for early spring and fall production. Best zones: 2 to 11. One of the most climate-adaptable plants on this entire list. 10. Yaupon holly. This one might be the most exciting sleeper crop on the entire list, and the story behind it makes the opportunity even more compelling. Yaupon holly is the only caffeinated plant native to North America. Indigenous peoples brewed it as a ceremonial tea for thousands of years. Then somehow, somewhere along the way, it got forgotten, pushed aside, ignored completely while Americans imported billions of dollars worth of coffee and tea from overseas. That oversight is your opportunity right now. The specialty tea market is growing fast, and consumers are increasingly hungry for something local, sustainable, and genuinely unique. Yaupon checks every single one of those boxes. It has been featured in major publications. It is appearing on menus at high-end restaurants and specialty cafes, and the pricing reflects exactly how rare and desirable it is. Artisan Yaupon tea is selling for $15 to $30 per ounce in specialty markets. Per ounce, not per pound. The plant itself is a native shrub that grows almost effortlessly in the southeastern United States. Drought-tolerant, tolerates poor soils, requires minimal maintenance once established. It practically grows itself. First movers in this market are building genuinely remarkable businesses right now. 11. Culantro. This is not cilantro. Say it again, not cilantro. And that distinction is exactly where the money lives. Culantro is a stronger, more pungent herb used heavily in Latin American, Caribbean, and Southeast Asian cooking. In Puerto Rico, they call it ricao. In Trinidad, shadow beni. In Vietnam, it goes into phi ho. These communities don't cook without it, and they cannot easily find it at mainstream grocery stores. That gap between demand and supply is your opening. Fresh culantro sells for $8 to $20 per pound at farmers markets, specialty grocers, and directly to restaurants serving those communities. Because it is so underrepresented in mainstream agriculture, competition is minimal, and prices hold strong. The plant itself prefers warm, humid conditions and partial shade, meaning it thrives in spots where full sun crops struggle. It grows low and compact, so intensive production in small spaces is very achievable. Best zones 9 to 12 outdoors. Container growing works well in cooler zones with humidity management. The real strategy here is community targeting. Latin American neighborhoods, Caribbean restaurants, Vietnamese PHUO shops. These are loyal, consistent buyers who have been searching for a reliable local supplier for years. Walk in with a fresh sample, and you will likely walk out with a standing weekly order. 12. Shiso. If you live within driving distance of a Japanese or Korean restaurant, this plant is essentially a guaranteed buyer waiting to happen. Shiso is a cornerstone of Japanese cuisine. It wraps sashimi, garnishes, sushi goes into rice dishes, salads, pickles, and beverages. It is not optional in a serious Japanese kitchen, it is essential. And with Japanese cuisine experiencing tremendous global growth, the demand for fresh, locally grown shiso has never been stronger. Fresh shiso leaves sell for $10 to $20 per pound through specialty Asian grocery stores and directly to restaurants, sometimes more. Because shiso is a tender herb that loses quality within days of harvest, restaurants actively prefer a local grower who can deliver fresh. That freshness becomes your competitive advantage that no produce distributor can match. Here is what makes this even smarter. Both green and red shiso varieties are marketable. Two products from essentially the same growing operation. Chefs want both. Grocery stores stock both. The plant itself is straightforward. An annual that grows readily from seed in warm conditions, compact enough for containers or intensive bed production. Best zones 4 to 10 as a warm season annual. Start indoors 4 to 6 weeks before last frost for an earlier harvest window. Build one strong relationship with a Japanese restaurant chef, and that single connection can sustain consistent weekly income throughout your entire growing season. 13. Mexican tarragon. Here is a plant that solves a problem most herb growers don't even know exists, and gets paid well for doing it. French tarragon is one of the most beloved culinary herbs in professional kitchens. Chefs want it constantly. But French tarragon is notoriously difficult to grow in hot, humid climates. It sulks. It bolts. It dies. Growers in warm regions have been struggling with it for years. Mexican tarragon fills that gap perfectly. Same distinctive anise flavor. Same culinary applications, but dramatically easier to grow in heat and humidity. For growers in the South and Southwest, this is not just an alternative, it is a straight upgrade. Dried Mexican tarragon sells for $8 to $15 per pound. Fresh bunches move well at farmers' markets and through direct restaurant sales. As a tea herb with its natural anise notes, it finds buyers in the herbal beverage market too, and late in the season. It produces beautiful golden yellow flowers, making it marketable as a specialty cut flower simultaneously. One plant, 3 separate market conversations. The strategy here is simple. Find restaurants that want tarragon flavor, but can't get consistent local supply. Walk in with fresh Mexican tarragon. Let them taste it. The conversation practically closes itself. 14. Epazote. Walk into any traditional Mexican kitchen and mention epazote. Watch what happens. Eyes light up. Hands gesture. Someone starts describing their grandmother's black beans. That emotional connection to a plant is exactly what creates a loyal, consistent buyer. Epazote is a cornerstone of Mexican and Central American cooking black beans, tamales, corn dishes, traditional stews. The flavor is so distinctive, so specific, that nothing else substitutes for it. Families who cook these recipes don't want an alternative. They want epazote, and mainstream grocery stores almost never carry it. That gap is your business. Fresh epazote moves for $5 to $15 per pound at markets serving Latin communities. Dried epazote commands similar pricing through specialty retailers and online. And because the buyer is cooking a cultural recipe passed down through generations, price sensitivity is low. They just want the herb. From a growing standpoint, epazote is almost embarrassingly easy. In warm climates, it self-seeds aggressively planted once, and it keeps coming back. It tolerates poor soil drought heat and neglect better than almost anything else on this list. Low effort, deep cultural demand, loyal repeat buyers. If you are near a Latin American community, this might be the single easiest crop to sell on this entire list. 15. Lovage. Professional chefs know this plant intimately. Most home gardeners have never once encountered it. And that disconnect is precisely where the opportunity sits. Lovage looks like celery, smells like celery, but the flavor is celery turned up to maximum intensity, concentrated, powerful complex. A tiny amount goes an extraordinarily long way, and that intensity is exactly what makes it so valuable to chefs working with soups, stocks, sauces, and braised meats. One sprig of lovage does what an entire bunch of celery cannot. Fresh lovage sells for $8 to $15 per pound through specialty grocers and directly to restaurant kitchens. Dried leaves and seeds find buyers in the herbal market. Lovage essential oil, while requiring significant plant material to produce, commands strong pricing in the fragrance and flavoring industry. Here is what makes lovage genuinely compelling for small growers. It is a perennial. Plant it once, and it comes back every year, growing larger and more productive each season. An established lovage plant produces substantial biomass enough to supply multiple restaurant clients consistently throughout the growing season. That recurring, predictable harvest is what builds recurring, predictable income. Best zones 3 to 8. Lovage actually prefers cooler climates, making it a perfect high-value crop for northern growers who struggle with heat-loving herbs. 2 or 3 restaurant relationships buying lovage weekly can quietly generate more stable income than an entire weekend farmer's market. 16. Hyssop. This one has a combination of markets that most growers never even think to connect. And that combination is what makes it genuinely interesting. Hyssop is a woody perennial in the mint family, minty, slightly bitter floral all at once. It has been used in herbal medicine for centuries. It shows up in culinary applications. But here is the market angle that most growing content completely ignores. Hyssop is a key ingredient in chartreuse, one of the most famous liqueurs in the world. And the craft distillery movement sweeping across America and Europe right now is creating a surge in demand for exactly the kind of botanical herbs that artisan spirit makers need. Any plant that feeds into craft distillery ingredient sourcing deserves serious attention right now. Dried hyssop sells for $10 to $20 per pound in the herbal market. Hyssop essential oil commands premium pricing in perfumery and aromatherapy. As a flowering perennial, it also attracts pollinators, creating additional value for growers who keep bees alongside their herb operation. The plant itself is straightforward and forgiving. Well-draining soil, full sun drought tolerance once established. It comes back reliably year after year with minimal intervention. Herbal medicine, culinary use, craft spirits, aromatherapy, pollinator support. 5 markets, 1 plant. 17. Fenugreek. Here is a plant that has been quietly feeding some of the most loyal buying communities in the world for thousands of years, and Western markets are only just beginning to catch up. Fenugreek is enormous in South Asian, North African, and Middle Eastern cooking and medicine. Both the leaves and the seeds are used. The dried leaves, known as kasuri methi, are a staple ingredient in Indian cooking that serious home cooks and restaurant chefs simply cannot substitute. Walk into any Indian grocery store and kasuri methi is always on the shelf, always moving. But the culinary market is only half the story. The supplement industry has been studying fenugreek intensively for its effects on blood sugar regulation, testosterone levels, milk production in nursing, mothers, and appetite control. That research is driving serious supplement demand completely separate from the food market. Fenugreek seeds retail for $5 to $15 per pound, higher for certified organic. Dried kasuri methi commands premium pricing through South Asian grocery channels and online platforms. Standardized fenugreek extract is a high-value ingredient for supplement manufacturers. From seed to harvest runs just 3 to 4 months. It fixes nitrogen in the soil, improving ground quality for whatever you plant next. Low cost to start, fast to produce, and it feeds into one of the most consistent and culturally loyal buying communities in the specialty food market. 18. Sichuan pepper. Close your eyes and imagine this for a second. You take one bite, your tongue goes numb. Then comes this wave of citrus floral electric warmth that doesn't burn, it buzzes. You've never tasted anything quite like it. You immediately want to know what that was. That's Sichuan pepper. And right now, chefs are building entire menu sections around that experience. This is not actually a true pepper. It's the dried berry husk of the xanthoxylum plant, and it produces a sensation completely unlike anything else in the spice world. No substitute exists. No imitation comes close. When a chef needs it, they need the real thing. And domestically grown supply is almost non-existent. That gap is wide open for growers who move now. Sichuan pepper sells for $15 to $35 per pound through specialty retailers and online platforms. Small artisan producers with exceptional quality are pushing those numbers even higher. High-end Chinese restaurants, ramen shops, and specialty food buyers are all actively searching for reliable domestic sources. The plant itself is a woody shrub, or small tree, that once established produces consistently for decades. The early investment in time and establishment pays back season after season without replanting. First mover advantage in this market is real. The growers establishing Sichuan pepper production right now are positioning themselves years ahead of the competition. 19. Purslane. I saved this one for last deliberately, because this plant carries a lesson that goes far beyond gardening. Most of you have pulled purslane out of your garden by the handful, tossed it in the compost, maybe cursed at it for coming back. You treated it like a problem to solve. Someone else was selling it for $15 a pound. Purslane is one of the most nutrient-dense leafy greens on the planet. More omega-3 fatty acids than any other leafy plant on Earth. Rich in vitamins A, C, and E. Loaded with magnesium, calcium, and potassium. In Greece, it goes into salads. In Turkey, it appears in dips and stews. In Middle Eastern cooking, it is a prized ingredient, not a weed. And now the American health food market is discovering what those cultures always knew. Fresh purslane moves for $5 to $15 per pound at farmers markets, specialty grocers, and through direct restaurant sales. The superfood market is picking up momentum around it fast. And the growing requirements. Almost laughably simple. Poor soil, drought, heat, neglect. Purslane doesn't just survive those conditions, it thrives in them. Best zones 4 to 11. It grows almost everywhere without asking for anything. What you have been pulling out of the ground and throwing away, someone else has been harvesting and selling. That realization alone should change how you look at your garden forever. Knowing which plants to grow matters, but knowing how to sell them is what actually changes your financial life. The most successful small-scale growers never rely on a single channel. They stack them deliberately. Farmers markets for retail prices, restaurants for consistent weekly income, online platforms for reach, social media to build a brand people trust and return to. Restaurant relationships are particularly powerful. Chefs are constantly hunting for fresh, unusual, locally grown ingredients their competitors can't easily source. Walk into a kitchen with shiso lovage or Sichuan pepper, you grew yourself, and you're offering something no produce distributor can match. 2 or 3 loyal restaurant clients buying weekly can outperform an entire farmer's market season. Value-added products are where real wealth accumulates. Calendula becomes infused oil. Lemon balm becomes a branded tea. Every processing step multiplies what you earn per pound dramatically. Start with 3 to 5 plants that match your climate and address clear local demand. Prove the model small. Then scale. The specialty crop opportunity is real, it's growing, and it's still wide open for growers who move intentionally. Comment your state below your USDA zone determines everything. If you ignore it, you'll pick the wrong plants from the very start. Now go plant something profitable.